Tonight we're going to talk largely about how the devil's coming after you, right? So the first thing I want you to know is that demons are organized. Demons and demonic forces are organized. These are some things, a lot of what I'm going to show you tonight is from experience, but it's also from the scripture. I'm going to give you a few scriptures, a few examples, but I want you to see, just having dealt with this for so long, here's a lot of these are my observations, and I believe they are enforced and supported through scripture. But demons are organized. The Bible shows us that there are various classes of demons, just like there are classes of angels. You see in the Bible various types of angels, and they have at different levels, strengths, and purposes. They're created for different things. You hear about seraphims and cherubims, and then they're messenger angels, they're warrior angels. They all have different systemic functions and are likely created specifically in a way to enhance that function. That's the way God's created most of what we know, even here on earth. And so, in the demonic world, remember the demons came from angelic beings. They are essentially angels. We don't like to call them angels because we don't like to mix up the concept of the two. But demons are fallen angels. In such fashion, they also have different abilities. They also have different capabilities. They are structured in a hierarchy. We know that the devil was a very, very high ranked angel. And with him and along with him, there are other angelic beings, some of which have rankings of authority and power as well. There are angels, or excuse me, there are devils that have authority over specific regions or territories. They take over specific areas and they guard it as their own. We talk about strongholds fairly frequently, but a stronghold can be on a person, it can be on a specific location, it could be over an entire region. And here in this area of Rochester, we've talked before many times with other pastors and other meetings about spiritual forces in this region that are unique to this region. And a lot of it comes from the history of how things that happen in this region. I think you'll find that in many different areas where there are certain types of demonic spirits that are in certain areas. I can imagine in the area of Salem when there was so much witch hunting, not even so much whether there were or not witches there, but just the whole fascination and engagement with spirits. There might more than likely were some that were real and some that were not. In the South, I have to imagine there are certain types of spirits that are in certain areas where there's been so much death and killing and murder, maybe not recently, but over generations. And there are types of spirits that tie to certain environments, atmospheres, and in fact induce them. There can be there can be devils which are focused on killing and murder. There can be demonic spirits that are focused on lying and cheating. There are various types of spirits that carry various types of I don't want to say anointing, but I'll say certain types of characters and things that they specialize in and deal with. One of the scriptures I'll show you very quickly that ties us back to this is in the book of Daniel. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It's where Daniel was praying and he was seeking a word from God. A lot of times you have to go back to these scriptures and look at them from different angles and you learn different things. But in Daniel chapter 10, verse 12, there's a story where it talks about Daniel praying. And as Daniel is praying, he gets a response back. An angel comes, a messenger angel comes to speak to him. And when he does that, he says these things: from the first day that you set your heart to understand and humble yourself before God, your words were heard, and I've come because of your words. Verse 13 says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now, again, when you see these things in the Bible, we talked about this even on Sunday, I believe. There are a lot of things that are written that have both a natural and a spiritual element. There are prophecies, which are in the natural for what's happening at that time, spiritually what's happening at that time, and then oftentimes for something that's going to come in the future. Prophetic words oftentimes have at least three different references associated with them. So here he's talking about an area of Persia, right? He says, the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. Now, this is an angel that's coming. He's not necessarily referring to the physical prince of that Persian empire, but he's talking about a spirit that was aligned and associated with this kingdom of Persia. The Bible talks about Babylon in such senses like this. We were reading on Sunday about the king of Tyre, which was not just the natural area of Tyre, the city, but also the spirit associated with it. So there's a spiritual force that considers itself prince of this kingdom. It has authority over this area, and probably not just only over the area, but over demonic forces that were in that area. This is one of the ways we know there's structure, there's organization between demonic spirits. There are some that specialize in stronghold. And we also know that spirits will carry other spirits with them. We'll get to that in just a moment. But there are various types of evil and demonic influence that can come at you. I talked about this a little bit already. A spirit of lying makes people compulsively lie, and it takes your tongue. It works with your tongue, if you will, not necessarily physically, but your words, to cause you to do and say different things. There are spirits that will give you different feelings like anger, suicide. They're tormenting spirits, but there are spirits that can give you depression and suicide, and that's what they focus on. And they operate and they attack people to give them that kind of mindset. You can find someone who was always so happy and so positive, but all of a sudden they're kind of spiraling down. There can be a spirit that is assigned to a person, and that is their focus, is to make you more and more depressed, to make you look at life in a much negative way. Just switching my phone around here so I can see this from a different page, because this one keeps locking up on me and people are making comments that I want to be able to see. So let me just try this one and see if this one will work a little bit better for us. All right, so there are, as I'm saying, there are different types of spirits. So you've got tormenting spirits. You got spirits of addictions. Addictions are not just physical. There can be spirits of addictions that will draw and pull you to be addicted to something. Everything from something physical like alcohol to something like pornography. These things, there are spirits that carry along these kind of desires, these yearnings, these lusts in your mind and in your body. There are spirits and demonic spirits that are perverted. We had something very, very well recognized. I'll just put it that way. That's been on the news for the past several months in terms of the trial that had a lot to do with a lot of perverse stuff. Some of the stuff, man, people can't even imagine some of the things that people come up with. And it comes up because these perverse spirits cause them and drive them to think in a way and do things that many of us would never even imagine doing. There's a spirit that causes that kind of depth of perversion that most of us hopefully will never truly be able to experience or understand. So you have all these different types of demonic forces. All they're interacting. They have different levels of power from individuals. So there are demons that focus specifically on a person. There are other demons that focus on areas or families or regions, etc., so forth. So, so you have all these different elements. Also, death and hell. Just want to mention death. Both death and hell, according to the Bible, they're not places. They're spirits. There's a spirit or an angel of death. Again, we don't typically call them angels, but you heard that angel of death. There's a spirit of death. When a soul dies, they fall under the control of the spirit of death. At least they used to, right? And that spirit has the ability to hold your soul. It has, at least it did until Christ came and took back the keys. But there's a spirit that's associated with death. There's a spirit that's associated with hell. Hell is not a place. Hell is a spirit. There is a place we called Sheol last week. It's also called the lake of fire, right? And the Bible tells us in Revelations that both death and hell will take their place in the lake of fire. They are spirits. And so one question, by the way, that comes up, kind of a side note to this, I saw this I think just yesterday or the day before somewhere, where it asked the question, does the devil rule over hell? Well, he may rule over the spirit of hell, but I think most times people are talking about the lake of fire, and they're asking if and when we go to hell, hell again is a spirit, but it's a spirit that torments those who are held by death. The two work together. But people think of hell as being the place, the lake of fire, and the devil as one that is got his pitchfork and he's over the top, ha ha ha, and he's just controlling everybody in hell. The devil is a spirit that ultimately is going to end up in the lake of fire along with death and hell. So just a little clarification there. Listen, demons don't fight demons. We talk about being organized and structured. This is something really, it just came to me not too long ago, really, a few weeks ago, but it is so profound to consider. Think about it. Demons don't fight demons, right? Hades, yes, Hades is basically the lake of fire. It's another name, more Greek name for the lake of fire. So demons don't fight demons. And when you think about that, it's kind of an interesting thought, right? Because demons are hateful, jealous, envious, harmful. You would think that kind of spirit would have them all up in arms against each other, fighting each other, trying to conquer each other. But you never find in the Bible demons fighting demons. If anything, they work together. They come and they invite friends. Think about it. That's biblical. The devils work together. I just have to say it. Sometimes it seems devils work together better than saints do. Devils divide us, but they work together to divide us. Look in the book, you know the story, in the book of Luke chapter 11, right? Luke chapter 11, verse 24, a couple of verses here. It says, when an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places. So the demon got cast out. Demon's going out into the world, seeks dry places, seeking rest, finds none. And we've seen in the Bible where Jesus cast out devils and they sought a place to rest. They sought a place to go into. The devils that were cast out of one man tried to go into the swine. Swine didn't want them. They had to go find another place, right? And so it is, demons gets cast out, right? He says, he doesn't find any other places. I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it swept and put in order. In other words, you emptied it, but you didn't fill it with anything else. Huh? Very important. Emptied the house, but didn't fill it with anybody else. Verse 26, then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits. Look, and more wicked than himself. That is deep. Devil coming back. I got this place, y'all. Come on, let's go have a party. And so he brings, when the devil comes back, this devil, he comes back and brings 7 more. And the 7 that he brought are even worse, more wicked than he is. Now, Jesus said these words. So understand, demons actually will work together. I got a place, y'all. I got a foothold in. Come on, let's go take it on in full. Remember, many of those people that Jesus cast demons out of had hundreds and thousands of demons in them. They're not physical like we are. They can all fit in one place spiritually. And so here they are, and they welcome the even stronger, the greater demons. And again, hierarchy, they're more wicked than himself. I got a place. Come on, y'all. Let me call on the big boys now. We're going to really get a hold of this one. And so demons don't fight demons. So how is it that Christians can battle over doctrine or whatever thing that comes up, argue, fight, fuss? Literally, some Christians outside the church fighting each other, taking off shoes and doing all kind of stuff, pulling guns and knives on each other. Christians fight each other while demons are wise enough, smart enough to work together. So I want you to understand, demons are organized. They don't mess around. We are the ones that are ignorant in terms of thinking it's just a game. But for them, they're in it for the kill. They're in it for the control. They're in it like their life depends on it, or their future depends on it. And so they don't play. We have to understand there is power. Even the devil understands there's power and strength in unity. Now, demons are not only organized, but demons are strategic. They're very strategic. The demons seek, as that scripture kind of showed us, they seek for a person or an area to conquer. They're looking for a place to conquer. We just saw in Luke chapter 11. Went out looking for a place, couldn't find a place, came back, checked the old one. Old one was still empty, it was still vacant. So guess what? Move back in. They're seeking for a place or a person or an area to conquer. They want to get into a place that they're not currently allowed into. And so the area may be physical, may be spiritual, may be generational. Understand that it can be associated outside of our concept of time, because a demon doesn't not live and die in the way we do. They carry on. They can watch you go to your grave and then pick up going on to the next one. I'm in this house. I've lived in this house all this time, this demon, in a physical place. I've been comfortable here. I've set the atmosphere here. Guess what? This one leaves. This one moves in. So a lot of these movies that we see, they're about hauntings and things like that. A lot of them are exaggerated, but a lot of them are based on things that are actually have happened or have some truth to them. Because a demon can be in a specific area, and it can focus on a specific location. And so you have to be conscious of where you're going in, where you're going out, because you can cross the paths of a place where a demon or demons are residing and not even realize that you were crossing through that area. Be careful of some of these places you just go to check out one time. Be conscious and careful of where you experiment. Allow somebody to take you, because it may seem like, oh, it's just going to be a nonchalant thing, but it could be seriously exposing you to things that you shouldn't be around. And all of a sudden, now a demon has seen you. They've not only seen you on the outside, they've seen your spirit. And let's just say they look at you and they see a vacant house. Remember what we just read. Now they want to follow that vacant house. Let's say they see you and they understand that you've got some things that God wants to do with you. Okay, now I want to see if I can penetrate and divide and conquer that. Why? Because they're strategic. If I get you out of position, I get whatever you're supposed to be doing out of position. And so you have all these different elements and aspects of demonic forces that are happening. Demonic spirits are strategic, right? They can reside in a person. They can reside in a place. They can reside over some kind of region. They can reside in an area over time. And they are very much aware of their targets. Now, I want you to listen to this part very carefully. Demons are aware of what they're going after. Demons know more about your future, or specifically about your potential. I'm going to take back future for a minute. They know more about your potential many times than you do. Sometimes they know your future because God has released or pronounced your future. And you may not even know or remember what was released over you, but the devil does. At some point in your life, maybe when you were first born as a baby, somebody went and prayed for you, and God spoke something that released the potential of you. And now the devil spots that, because the devil does his research. He knows you. He's got a, we think about a book, or these days you might think about it as a notebook or electronic, whatever you do. The devil has a record on you, on viable targets, especially those with great potential. He knows as soon as he gets any information, he's got it. And so they're aware of your strengths. They're aware of our weaknesses. They're aware of our past mistakes. They're aware of our lusts, right? They got their own Google. They got their own AI on you, right? They have your record. And so they know you many times better than you know yourself, or at least what you're willing to acknowledge about yourself. Some of us don't like to admit our weaknesses or different things. Guess what? They know, right? Oh, I'm not lustful. I don't know. I got no problem with that. But understand, they know, because they have the record on you. Somebody in the demonic world has been watching, and they share information because they work together. They're organized, right? So whatever it is that you're dealing with, and the Bible tells us we all got something, right? It describes in First John the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life. There are things about us that are our weaknesses or our vulnerabilities, and the devil knows it. Some of those, it's not your fault. Some of those may be things that happened to you in your past. Some of those may be things that you were exposed to. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes our strengths and weaknesses are actually tied together. But the devil is looking for that kind of information. He's looking to create the book on you so that he knows how to turn it up on you anytime you start trying to get closer to God. Remember? Playing field, pawn on the playing field, trying to keep you from being what God would have you to be, knock you out the game. To do that, he has to have information, and that information then can be used against you. And so demonic spirits are very much aware. They do their research. They know stuff on you. No sense of pretending like it ain't happened, like it ain't you, like you never did that, like, nope, you've been saved and holy all your life. They know. They know what got you last time. They know what to go back to get you again. And it may not even be something sinful. It may be something that caused fear, something that caused pain in your life. And now I'm trying to keep away from that pain. And the devil at the right time will put that pain back on you again to cause you to respond, to cause you to run, to cause you to react. Many of the things that the devil does to you is to cause you to get a response out of you. So let me just tell you this before we get to it. Monitor and be aware of how you respond to the things that come up against you. Your response is more critical than the situation. How you respond to it is the key, because the devil is trying to produce a response in you by offending you, by attacking you, by hurting you, by reminding you, by making you feel guilty about, by drawing you. He's trying to get a response. So always ask yourself, what response is this situation trying to get out of me? The devil feeds on vulnerabilities. You got to keep going, right? Natural weaknesses, lusts, hurts, past experiences. He got the book on you. He knows all that stuff, and he feeds on it. Oftentimes, I mentioned a minute ago, your greatest strengths tie to your greatest weaknesses as well. We like to think about the strength part of it, but a lot of times the strength comes from some other weakness, and that's what the devil will exploit, right? So you're an overachiever. A man, look at that man. Look at that woman. They just constantly going. They're doing something, got great stuff going on. Wow. We're impressed. But the reason they're an overachiever is because they can't stand to be called a failure. And so they're pushing, trying to prove. And the devil will use that fear of failure against you to get you to push too much in the wrong direction, cut corners, try and deal with things in ways you shouldn't, because you're driven by something. And to us, it looks like this great thing, but the devil uses the vulnerability of what brought you there to try and to get you to do the wrong, stay with the word, response. Right? I got to do more. I got to go harder. I gotta go faster. Meantime, you're leaving your family behind, leaving your friends behind, leaving this behind, leaving your comfort zones, your surroundings, and you're stretching. You're taking risks. You're going over the edge because I just have to achieve. Why? Because I just can't fail. So what happens when the prize gets so big and so difficult and so challenging that you can't do it without compromising? The devil's trying to get you to that compromise point, where you cut the corners instead of doing the right thing or doing what you should be doing in other areas, even for your family or for God. You got to be careful. You're positive. You overcompensate for your children. Man, I love my kids, man. Don't mess with me. I'm going to give them everything they want. I'm taking them to this, involved with that. I'm paying for this. I'm paying for that. Next thing you know, you paid yourself into all kind of problems, and you spent your time doing so many things, and you created children now that expect and anticipate everything. But why'd you do all that? Because I love my children? I did it because the way I was treated, because I never want to happen to them what happened to me. I went without, and therefore I want to make sure they don't go without anything. Sometimes we overcompensate, and the devil will use that vulnerability to get you in situations that you should not be in and doing things you should not really be doing. People say that I'll never be broke again, right? Yeah, it's a good thing, right? But why is it? Because of the impact of having to suffer in the past. And so now I'm afraid I never want to be back there. I never want to live in that neighborhood again. I don't want anything that looks like that. I don't want anybody that looks like that. No situations. And it drives you. It's a vulnerability. It's not a sin. It's not wrong, but it's something that can be exploited. I'll never love again. I was rejected. I was hurt so much last time. Nope, I'll never expose myself to anybody like that again. And guess what? You can't expose yourself to God either, because you are so afraid of being hurt. You can't truly have a relationship, not even a spiritual one. You got to be aware. That's all I say. You got to be aware of your own personal weaknesses and vulnerabilities. You've got to know it so that you can protect them. If you deny them, you can't protect it. If you say, no, 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 I don't have a problem. This is why you do therapy. That's why people do therapy. It's so that you can really see yourself and see the vulnerabilities, the weak spots that are inside of you. Because you can't really protect it if you won't acknowledge it. An alcoholic will never stop trying to drink as long as they don't see a problem with drinking. Whatever your situation is, and again, it may not be bad, but it's a vulnerable spot. It's a weak spot. It's a spot of exposure. It's a place which is sensitive or touchy to you. Whatever those spots are, the devil's writing the book on you. And I've said many, many, many times, that's why you'll find when the devil finds something that works, it's because he found a hot spot. And when he finds it, he'll continue to hit that button. He'll continue to push that button anytime he feels like it. He may leave you alone for a while, but when he sees you going too much in the right direction, or when you start becoming too much aligned with God's purpose, he'll just push that button, and there you go. Bing! Off to the races. Back to the starting point. How did I get back here again? Reminded how you felt before. Oh, back in the fetal position. Because you had a vulnerability spot that was waiting for the devil to decide when to use it. So you've got to be aware of your own vulnerabilities. Listen, you got a big mouth. You talk too much. Listen, you can't keep secrets. You got to be aware of that, right? So then you can be aware of what you say. You don't just burst out anything, any place, in any room, right? You've got to understand what you're capable of and what's vulnerable in you. Listen, attacks are generally indirect. Got a couple more things to get to here. Attacks are generally indirect. Devil doesn't show up in your room at night typically and just start haunting you, right? That's a whole nother level of supernatural for whole different reasons. But typically, the attacks on you are not direct. In other words, it's not the devil coming at you directly. Typically, when the devil comes at you, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, he comes at you through other people and through other situations. People and situations. He disguises himself. He doesn't pop up and just say, okay, here comes the devil. Oh, I see the devil there. And you don't see the devil. You see a situation. You see a person. This person in your mind starts representing something that ties back to whatever your vulnerability spot is. This situation reminds you of what you've been through before, and so it starts triggering you, right? The devil doesn't, people looking for the devil, and the devil is not the person. The devil is using the person to get to you. He comes disguised. Why? So you blame the person or the situation or the bank or this condition instead of the person, instead of understanding and seeing, wait a minute, that's the devil. This is why you have to learn to have spiritual eyes. You got to be able to say, wait a minute, I've seen this before. In fact, I know that. I recognize that. And I'm not looking at a face and I'm not looking at eyes, but I see and I sense the spirit that's here. And I've had situations where not only it's been so much that I've not only sensed the spirit, but I've heard almost the same words come out of another person's mouth. That's not that person. That's that spirit that's manipulating and using them, because the devil manipulates and exploits the vulnerabilities in one person to offend the vulnerability in you. That's how the devil works. Most commonly, that's what happens. He disguises himself through somebody else to come after you. And even the devil, the first time he went to Jesus, he went to him, spoke to him directly. That didn't work. The next time he comes back through the Pharisees, and then he comes back, who were supposed to be, by the way, holy people, right? He comes back and mixes up their minds and gets them hating the Messiah. People who are supposed to be Christians are now hating them, not because simply them, they're being stirred by the devil. And the devil is reaching into each of their vulnerabilities. Wait a minute, this man's going to expose us. Wait a minute, this man, he's taking all the attention. He's going to get all the money. He takes all of their vulnerabilities in terms of things that are of interest to them and uses that to cause them to despise, not only just hate, but despise Jesus. To the point where they want to kill him. They come to the conclusion the only thing we can do with this man is kill him. We got to do it. It's for the greater good. How do you get there? Right? Even Pilate, who wasn't even a Christian, who wasn't even a Jew, he said, how do you get there? How do you get to killing him? Where is this coming from? So even Pilate recognized that there was something going on there beside the fact of these Pharisees. He was spending this whole time trying to figure out, what are they up to? Why are they doing this? Why do they want to kill this man so bad? Look at this story. He's an outsider, and this often happens. Spirits can get into an area and get everybody all wound up. And I've had this happen to me. Everybody all wound up. And an outsider looks at the situation separately and says, what was all that about? Why was everybody so wound up? What was everybody so mad about? There was a spirit that roused up the crowd along with the Pharisees. This is what I'm talking about, going back to Jesus now. At the crucifixion, there was a spirit that was in the midst that was getting everybody wound up, and they were mad about stuff they didn't even realize they were mad about. And Pilate sitting outside of it saying, what's the matter with these people? Right? The final time Jesus approached him, or actually prior to that, was through Judas. The devil approached Jesus through Judas. And the devil's sitting on the side. Judas is the one doing the work. Jesus realizes it's not Judas, it's the devil. You have to have spiritual eyes that see beyond the natural and the physical and understand the nature of how the devil works. This is why we're having this conversation, because the devil will work through people. And oftentimes the way he gets them to act the way they act, or out of character, or act in the wrong, inappropriate way, is he's feeding into their vulnerability to bring a response out of them that he knows is going to be offensive and impactful to you and touch on your vulnerability. That's how he gets you. And so he's got this one looking at that one, and the devil is outside just saying, there you go. Got it working. That's exactly what happened to Jesus. So understand, this is how he works. He makes you afraid of the thing that you hate or fear the most. And as a result of that, when he comes, and all of a sudden now it puts you back into that position that you were in as a child, right? When I was stuck, or people were talking about me, or I was abused in a certain way, or whatever the case may be. When I get that feeling that comes from that situation, it's because the devil is using your vulnerability to attack you and make you afraid, to make you run back, to make you quit. And too often, even when we're feeling like that, we don't run to Jesus, we run away from Jesus, which is exactly what the devil wants you to do. We run into our natural response. We run into countering with fear or fighting or whatever the case may be, instead of finding peace in Christ and in God, knowing that he is your covering in these things. Instead, we respond in our flesh. Remember, the devil is looking for a response from you based on what he's doing to you. So the first thing you need to check on yourself is, how am I responding? What aspect of this is this feeding into in me? And how am I responding? If you do those two things, it will help you to counter in your response to what the devil is trying to do in your life. Because otherwise, come on now, you see in a person, you want to fight, right? You want to fight at the bank. You want to fight at school. You want to fight. You want to resist. You want to counter. You want to operate out of your flesh. You want to say something back. You want to do something, right? Or even if it's just running, fleeing. I want to run. I remember one close friend that I had when we were younger. He was a great musician. He's a great musician. He died early, but he was a great musician. And he would play in churches. And he played our church at one point. This is years ago. But he would have a situation happen at whatever church he was at, and then he was gone. He would run. I remember talking to him. I'm a teenager. Me and my brother talking to him. Every time something would go, he'd run from here to there to there. His response wasn't to fight. His response was to run. And so the devil would put him in the same situation, push the same button. He let him sit there for a minute, push the button, boom, there he goes. He's running. Boom, there he goes. He's running. Wasn't he over so-and-so? I thought he was, wait a minute, what's going on? Where's he at? Running. Because that was his flee response to being attacked in that vulnerable area. You have to know your vulnerabilities, right? So he tempts you, he makes you afraid, he tempts you with things that you always wanted but never had. He goes, that's on the other side of it. That's the temptation side of it. I'm either pushing you away or I'm pulling you in. I've got to know what I'm vulnerable to. I never had something like that person. I need that person in my life. I've never had this kind of situation. Whatever it is, he's drawing you to it. So you got to understand when you're under attack from the devil and not just from people or circumstances. Take a moment to pause. Look at the situation. What is it impacting in you? How is it trying to cause drive a response out of you? What does that response look like? Oftentimes, I bet it's not godly. You need to pick that up. Whatever this is trying to bring something out of me, and it's not like God. I'm in my mind right now, just going over and over again, Psalm 91. I don't think I have it here, but I think I referenced it somewhere in what's coming up later, because the concept of Psalm 91 is the concept of being under the shadow of the God Almighty. He is our refuge and our fortress. The devil is not can't pull you out of there. He's just trying to either tempt you to come out or scare you to come out so that you'll come out from under the covering of God, because that's where he can expose you. That's where he can harm you. So when you move from being in God's will and God's purpose and decide you're going to go after it in your own way, I'm going to handle this myself. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to fight. I'm going to pick up something. I'm going to say something. I'm going to resist, or I want it. Excuse me, God, I got to go. When you get out from underneath that shadow, that's when the devil can get to you. So watch your response. Is it taking you out of God's presence and God's purpose and God's will? You need to check that right there. No, okay, this is coming from the devil. It's not just a person. It's not just a circumstance. There's so many examples in the Bible where you see the devil manipulating people indirectly, starting with Eve, right? Now, Eve was the way to Adam. So he manipulated Eve and used her to manipulate Adam. Cain, he uses vulnerability. He got jealous because God has accepted one and not him. Can't be his fault. It's got to be Abel's fault. And so he gets mad. He takes all of his frustration and anger and redirects it at Abel. And the devil says, see, it's his fault. He's the one that's doing it. You got to do something about that. And he gets rage and kills. Abraham acted outside of God's will because he was influenced through his wife. Says, look, you need to have a child, right? God says you're going to have a child. Let's do this. Blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you end up with an Ishmael problem, which doesn't go away. Joseph's brothers got jealous about him. And so they acted in a way, and they were coerced to act in a way that actually, by God, moved into the will of God. But they were ready to kill him. Moses lost his composure. The devil was taunting him 40 years dealing with these people. I feel you, Moses. But he allowed his feelings to take him out of the purpose of God. Saul was afraid of the people, and the devil knew it. And so he got him in a situation where he appeased the people rather than follow after God. David got his little weakness in his flesh, him and Samson. Flesh got in the way. He had a weakness. Women. So what happened? As soon as he got in a place where he was not in the covering of God, when he was out there by himself, the devil showed him something that triggered his flesh, that had already always been there, but now he was in a place where he was outside of his covering, and he got him and tempted him to do something that he knew he shouldn't have done. Even Elijah, the prophet Elijah, right? The devil taunts him at a time when he is spiritually on fire. I mean, he just had this whole fire come down from heaven and destroy the sacrifice and all that. And he uses Jezebel to send a word that gets him all messed up in his head, and he has to go run. Devil doesn't typically come right at you. He comes through somebody or a circumstance to get to you. You've got to recognize him when he comes. Now, just to end this out, I want to give you 4 things here. Hope you got something from this. Hope you're taking some stuff from this. Not just notes. Take it up here. You have to see and recognize the devil coming at you. You have to feel the response it's trying to bring out of you and check what that response is. If it's not of God, you need to recognize what's coming at you, especially if you've seen it before. It just looked different, but it's the same ugly-eyed devil. We're exposing the devil tonight. Pray for me. 4 things real quick to overcoming demonic attack. Number 1, don't leave openings or opportunities. This is what we've been talking about. Know your own weaknesses. Don't leave openings or opportunities. Somebody can type this in if you want. 4 things. Don't leave openings or opportunities for the devil. You've got to know your weaknesses so you don't leave yourself exposed. Understand what things he could tempt you that might move you. Don't worry about, I don't smoke, I don't drink. Well, maybe that's never been your issue. But what is your issue? Don't allow the devil you've got to know where he could be coming from so that when certain things happen, you can sense, okay, that's coming at me, right? Guard your responses. Things we talk about. Know your weakness. Guard your responses. Because the devil attacks to get you to bring out an ungodly response from your flesh. So know your weaknesses. Don't leave opportunities. Number 2, do not open doors to demonic spirits. Don't open doors to demonic spirits. Be careful of exposure to demonic things. Some things on television you don't need to watch. Oh, it's just scary. Oh, it's just a make-believe. No, there's some things you really don't need to watch. Exorcisms on television. You don't need that in your heart and your mind. You don't need that in your dreams. You don't need to show the devil any attraction to that. All these things about devils, and here we are, it's Halloween month in October, and all these shows are coming on television. Freddy this and Nightmare that and all these things, Boo and whatever. Listen, guard your atmosphere. You don't understand through music, through videos, through social media, how many spiritual things can be carried, because again, they can be tied to a person, a place, and yes, they can be tied to things like music. They can be tied to things that you see. They can be tied to images, masks, different types of icons or types of things that you may have. Watch what you take in, especially what you take in your home or your heart. Guard your home, guard your heart, guard your eyes, guard your ears. You can't let everything come in your door. You're buying a new house, you need to pray over that house. You need to make sure that the presence of God comes in the house with you, and you don't walk into a house that's got demons sitting in it. I'm serious. Guard your family. And sometimes you need to guard your family from other things. Maybe even things in your extended family. Guard your family. Watch the influences. Yeah, they family. We all going to the family reunion. But you got there's some people that you and your family don't need to be around. You don't need your children to catch the spirit of Uncle Joe and Aunt Betty. And that spirit then starts to overlay itself onto them, because it can happen. So you have to know who to keep your children, your family around and not around. Okay, number 3, I got to keep going. Number 3, do not leave your spirit empty. We read earlier about the spirit that left and came back. Don't leave your spirit empty. An empty spirit leaves opportunity to be filled. So I finally got out of this. I got out of this relationship. I got out of this thing was making my head crazy. I got out of this stuff that had me thinking all this crazy stuff. I got out of this job because it had all kind of stuff going on with me. Got out of this relationship. But you can't just get out and then leave that place in you empty, because it's going to be looking for something else to fill it. And that spirit and other spirits are going to look for a place to fill. You can't just stop going to bars and doing this and doing that kind of stuff and just go home and think, I'm just going to go home in the quiet, empty. I'm not out hanging out in those environments anymore, and not think that they're not going to pull you back. And it may not happen right away, but the time is going to come where it's going to try and tempt you again. Every alcoholic that has stopped drinking, every person has overcome addiction, has a moment in time when that addiction tries to come back. And especially will happen in times when you now have things going on, right? As long as everything is good and I'm peaceful, I'm fine. But I get a little depressed, I get a little frustrated, I get mad, and all of a sudden it will try to pull you back, because that thing wants to come back in its house. You can't leave your spirit empty. That's why you need to be filled with the Holy Spirit. That's why you need to change your habits. Every time I have somebody come to the altar, they get saved, especially when they come out of different circumstances. Look, now you need to come back. That's why I tell you, you need to come back to service. Don't just come one time and go home, because that devil is going to be waiting to try and get back in what we just tried to help get you out of. What you just decided you wanted to leave, you're going home and go right back into it. The devil's going to say, well, you ain't going nowhere. You definitely ain't going back there again, because clearly that's trying to get you away from me. So you went out of the home where the devil was, went to church, felt relief, felt deliverance, went back home to where the devil was, and he just met you there. So you have to make sure that you fill this with something else. I got to stop watching this and start watching something godly. I got to stop reading this and read something godly. I got to start thinking godly. I got to hear godly music instead of all this crazy stuff that I was listening to that was messing with my thoughts. You have to change and control your environment and be filled with the Spirit. Fill this empty house with the Spirit of God, so that the devil has no place to come back into. Number 4, just about done. Number 4, be sure you're fighting the right enemy. Be sure you're fighting the right enemy. According to the Bible, we're not just fighting people. Ephesians 6:12, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. This is what the Bible is trying to tell us for years and decades, and we still look people in the face. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, principalities, powers. We're fighting spirits. We're fighting things that are trying to use people to get to you. And typically, the reason they're coming at you in such a way is because you represent something to them that's a vulnerability that the devil then taps into and can get a response out of them towards you. What would life be like if we as Christians all guarded our response and did not allow the devil to take us to a place where we're responding out of our flesh? What would that be like? That'd be like a unified church. I'm not just talking about ours. I'm talking about the church in general, because bishops fight bishops, pastors fight pastors. Arguments and debates go on social media between this pastor and this pastor, condemning each other, want to point each other out wrong. And it's not just a matter of truth. Sometimes just a matter of trying to be right and prove somebody else is wrong. Guard your responses. So these 4 things I leave you with. Don't leave openings or opportunities. Know your weaknesses. Guard your responses. Number 2, do not open doors to demonic spirits. Number 3, don't leave your spirit empty. And number 4, be sure you're fighting the right enemy. Take these things, jot them down, keep them in front of you. Learn how to really build this into how you operate and think and apply in your life. And it will really help you to become more and more of what God would have you to be. So we're concluding tonight, but listen, we got so much more. We've been talking about demons and demonic spirits. I want you to understand that they're not the only issue, right? And we're going to take you into more now. That was how demons use people. I want to talk about now people who are integrating with demons. And so the next week, we're going to talk about divination. Ooh, big word. We said demons, divination, deception. Next week, we're going to talk about divination, which is the idea of people who are trying to tap into spiritual and supernatural things and how that can impact you or not impact you, right? Do witches really have control over you? People casting spells really affect you? We're going to talk about that over next week, maybe two, starting next week. So join us next week. It's going to be a powerful, powerful conversation and teaching. Trust me, you're going to be blessed by all of this. All right. Next week, we'll be here Wednesday again. Don't forget, again, if you don't have, or if you're lost, or if you want to go back and review any of these, I do encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, because our YouTube channel is where you can find all of this and more. Go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@DPC. Just type @DPC, or just go into YouTube. And when you get into YouTube itself, you can just go into there and type right in at the search bar at the top. Just type in @DPC and hit, and it will take you. Whoops, I did that wrong. DPC Rock. I said it wrong. @DPC Rock. There it is. @DPC Rock. Which DPC? And then from there, you get back. Good thing I said check that, right? @DPC Rock, and you will get to our page. And from there, you can get all kind of stuff learning, including this series, Demons, Divination, and Deceptions. This third part will be up here as of tomorrow or tonight, really. And you'll be able to go back and just keep with all of these.